Nate Thompson here with HTX Sports Tech, here with Thomas Fields of Grind Basketball and Chris Garcia. Thomas, wanted to start it off with the first question, kind of like if you can jump into your background on like why you started Grind and then kind of how that came about.
Yeah, Nate, Chris, thank you guys for having me on. A little bit of background about me. And I started as a basketball player. I was 19 years old when I started Grind. And I really, I was trying to get to the NBA, just like all the other high school kids that play basketball on a serious level. I was trying to go D1, but previously I had tore my ACLs sophomore, junior, and senior year, so I blew out my knees. And really throughout that whole process, I came across the big problem and kind of thing that kind of made me start the company, which was not having access to like the best, the best professional level type of equipment at my fingertips, right? So at that time, there was these things called shooting machines, and they still exist around, now. They've been around for 30, 40 years, but what they do is get your rebounds automatically and automatically pass the ball back out to you. And it allows you to, get up to 1,000 shots an hour. So Steph Curry, LeBron, Kobe, RIP, all these guys, they would use these shooting machines to, kind of get more reps and stuff. So I didn't have access to this thing, and after tearing my ACLs, I really needed to like increase my level of work and my level of reps every day. I couldn't afford a $5,000 machine, and I had nowhere to put a 400-pound machine. So Grind was born from that point on. And we're a sports technology company designing interactive sports equipment for athletes, and we're starting with basketball. So redesigning the shooting machine is our first product. So we redesigned it to fold into a duffel bag and make it more affordable for athletes. So that's kind of a quick overview of what Grind does. Did you want me to go into my background a little bit?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so like, I started the company at like 19, so
Crazy.
Yeah, kind of started in my garage, trying to figure out how the hell to make a portable shooting machine, and over the years, turned myself into like a self-taught mechanical engineer. So taught myself how to weld, CNC machine, plasma cut, laser cut, you name it, everything, 3D printing, anything from mechanical, electrical engineering, like kind of taught myself how to do. And built a really, really great team around me of like guys that were at U of H and Rice University, and continued to learn from these guys that were in their master's programs. They're kind of, we're going back and forth with engineering and building the product, and it took hundreds of iterations with the machine. But yeah, we ended up getting through it. But kind of fast forward, self-taught mechanical engineer. I got into the business school at U of H, the #1 entrepreneurship program in the country. And then I ended up dropping out. They kind of wanted me to decide on whether I should continue going to, in their entrepreneurship program or do Grind. And I had to do one or the other. And I was, man, I gotta stick with my gut. And I took Grind. And kind of the rest is history, man. I got into an accelerator program called Red Labs, and that was through U of H. I got into, and they gave us some capital. So this whole process, I was working 2 jobs, from the YMCA, from plumbing, from car washes at night, just to fund the company. And that would fund me, and then I get into an accelerator. They give us, anywhere from $2 to $3 grand, and I'll make that money stretch. And then we moved into our own space, and we were able to kind of iterate and build better prototypes and continue to like iterate. But from that point, I got into another accelerator, and that was through MIT, called the Success Initiative. So they gave us some more capital, and I was continuing to move forward. And then, kind of the last stretch, after all these iterations and all these years, after four years in the game of developing the machine, we finally came across two really great investors that were kind of mentors to me for the previous 2 years. Kind of saw the progress we were making and made some investment, and we raised a little less than $100,000 November 2019.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, that from that point we were able to kind of go launch. And this year, 2020, we launched March 1st of right in the middle of right before the pandemic, so that was interesting. But yeah, man, so far, we've brought in for the last 2 months a little over $100,000 in revenue. So March and April. So pre-orders are rolling in. Not sure how this pandemic is kind of treating us, because we don't have like history of previous sales, but so far so good. So we can only hope for the best moving forward out of this pandemic, and to continue to grow.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't know. Yeah, I think I met you at the Rice University Tech and Tunes event. That was like 3 or 4 years ago. It was like a long time ago. Yeah, and then like seeing like the product, it was like yeah, that's something that like is needed to like be more affordable for like students or athletes that want to be able to like get those reps in where they don't have access to a gym, or have access to a gym that doesn't have that equipment, and make it more affordable. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so it was curious. The drive from the entrepreneurship program to like not pursue that entrepreneurship like curriculum, and like while you're also pursuing like your startup. Curious, like I guess I'm not sure how to put the question, but like yeah, not sure like what was their reasoning for like pushing you towards academic versus pursuing the startup when you're in an entrepreneurship program?
Yeah. Good question. I think like whenever I started Grind, like I was super scared. Like I was scared as shit, like dropping out. It was a big decision. But at the same time, like whenever I started Grind, it was kind of like I was forced into business, because if I wasn't gonna do business, like I was on the basketball track, right? I made varsity freshman year. I was getting scouted and recruited by Wichita State and Northwestern, and just these there's D1 offers on the table, but I really couldn't move forward because of my knees.
Right.
So it was like I was kind of forced to do something else, and it was like if you don't go all in, like you're not about to make it. Like you're not gonna know what to do. So it was kind of like I gravitated towards business because my dad, he's always been into business, whether real estate or starting a business, or he started a record label back in the day with a whole bunch of old rappers, SPM and Little Flip and guys like that. So I just gravitated towards business, and had the idea, had a problem, and started reading and moving forward. So kind of like in that beginning stage, I knew I had to be all in or it wasn't going to work.
Right.
And at 19, going into my adult years, 20, 21, like if I'm not pushing this shit all the way, then I'm going to waste, I'm going to be 25 not knowing what I'm going to do, at 30 years old, not having prepared for anything. So I knew I had to like give everything I had towards it. I never really was a fan of school. I was good at school because I had to, make the team, and so I had A's and B's and stuff, maybe with B's. But yeah, man, when that decision came, I knew like it was kind of one of those situations where like, if y'all the program that I think y'all are, or if y'all the program that I feel like y'all should be, putting business development and kids, knowing what they want and pushing forward in that initiative. Y'all let me do this. Since y'all are trying to make me, decide, it kind of shows me the mindset of where you guys are right now. And, I got great people around me, like, you and Ash at the time. And because I think I was still in school when I met Ash. And so I had these really, really smart guys around me that were doing the things that I wanted to do. So I'm looking up to y'all like, I gotta get on this level. And school didn't show me that path over there. It was a different path, and I was like, nah, grind is getting me there. It was a jump, but it kind of made the jump to where, like, I got to sign up for classes the next semester. So and like that,
well,
it was like, also, I missed the date.
It also sounds like on the way, on that path, you're actually, you're hitting these milestones. So you're actually on the right path. Getting funded, getting funded again, getting funded at a different level. One of the things I heard you say that's really important, and I don't know if people miss it when they listen to it, but it's like, you mentioned that two of the guys that were in your program ended up becoming like mentors for you. That says a lot. That says they believed in, not only your product, but they believed in your drive, your passion. And I believe, they changed the game for you. It's like, because, your dad can only get you so far. And I don't mean, any disrespect to your dad, but, parents can only do so much. They could tell you business, but there's just a different level of, mentorship that comes from the outside. And then, and it sounded like, because I could just imagine those decisions, but I could also imagine, it's not like you were, it's funny you wearing that shirt, calculated risk. That's basically what you took. It was a measured risk. It wasn't a, hey, I don't have any, this is just a dream. You actually were, to have money in the account. And what I was going to say is almost as equal to that, to have really valuable, smart people spending time and investing it in you. That's equally just as valuable as money. It's like, so, what I mean? So I was just something I wanted to share because I picked that up from what you were saying.
Yeah, man. And I recognized that, early on, like I knew for sure, like I wasn't the smartest or the sharpest, the most brilliant person in the room, and I shouldn't be, right? And I should always have people that are smarter than me around me, right? So I always gravitated towards older people or older guys that have done it before and can show me and give me game on, what to do whenever I get to that next level, so I can make that quick turn or I can miss this pothole, right? And I just want to make sure that I'm successful and the company's successful. At the end of the day, I think I want to build a company that changes lives for athletes, and whatever pothole I could go around or whatever hurdle that I could cross by, whether it's you, Chris, or Ash or Nate or any of our investors or mentors can help me overcome before we get there or get ready to go over, I'm all with it, because at the end of the day, that's going to help us and allow us to, get to that end goal of changing lives for athletes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what, man? And you mentioned that a couple of times. It sounds like you've already seen that a little bit based on, of course, looking into grind and just, I love that you guys are sharing some of those stories. But it really looks like you have already had a few success stories, right? As far as changing, a career for a student athlete and those type of things.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing just like one?
Yeah, in terms of my own, or in terms of like other kids.
Other
kids. Yeah, and I think there was a kid that purchased the machine, and we haven't delivered any of our units yet. We're in the process. We're taking pre-orders now, and then we're delivering in November. So I'm excited to make that delivery to all these kids around the country, because there was a kid that has been following us since 2015. I was in a dorm room in Amarillo, Texas. I never bring this into the story because it goes so deep, but like, you know, first year out of high school, I went to a junior college in Amarillo, Texas, and I was building the prototype, you know, my first prototype in my dorm room. So I had started the Instagram page and all that stuff, going back to Houston to my homeboy. But there was a kid that followed us on Instagram, and he loved our website. He reached out to me, and it was 2015. And at the time, I think he was a freshman. You know, 4 years later, we launched, and the kid bought one, and you know, he's super excited. He lives in Canada, or like right below Canada. I don't know if it's Toronto or something. But he's just like, yo, I gotta have this machine because I've been waiting for it for 4 years. Tom has been grinding. So it's just really, really crazy to see those stories, man. And
yeah, I mean, if you can imagine, I mean, I'm sure, you know, he has that, you know, printed in his room or bookmarked, and he's literally saving. And then you guys are meeting at the finish line when you're launching, and he's like, I've made this purchase. Like, it's you know, it's like getting invited, like saving money for a football camp or a basketball camp. Now you're going, and you know you're gonna get better, right?
Yeah.
That's the type of, I think that's just gonna continue to happen for you, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I want to do this for basketball. You know, we want to go into soccer and do the same thing, and just continue to, you know, explode it on a larger scale. So, you know, make the impact that, you know, really create a brand like Nike that, you know, inspires kids and they love it and think it's authentic and cool. But also that super hard impact of inspiration and giving kids the ability to think outside the box in terms of, if basketball, soccer, or any sport doesn't pan out for me, what can I do? You know, and they look at grind and they're like, yo, I could be electrical or mechanical or software engineer, right? So yeah, that's the end goal.
Well, it sounds like you're wearing multiple hats, man, because you talked earlier about, you know, the technical side of, you know, learning, you know, how to build this thing. Then you've had to learn, you know, the academic side, that, you know, and then you had to make that decision. Then you're learning the business side, and now it sounds like you're learning the marketing side. Because from what you're saying, there's a term that says emotion first, money second. You know, and it's essentially, you know, you got to tell your story. You got to have people, you know, clinched onto, wow, this makes a difference in my life. It's worth it. You know, and then, you know, they don't even think about the 1,500 or the 1,000 or the 500 they dropped. It's like, you know, you've already, you know, they're already hooked. You know, they're so yeah, man. I love the name of the company. How did that come about? I mean, you use it in your language constantly, but I'm just curious. Is that kind of where it came from?
Yeah, you know, like being around my dad, growing up in the inner city of Houston with all these rappers coming around, I always took, you know, like the Houston rap music and applied it to my own life, like a lot of people do, just in music generally. And you know, a lot of the guys that we were around, they were always talking about grinding and putting in work and you know, getting these things that they wanted, but they would break down the process of how they're getting it, right? And they're staying up late at night, they're doing what they got to do, they're grinding and putting in work, right? And then so that was kind of ingrained in me subconsciously, right? It was just kind of that work ethic with the music and the culture that really brought grind. But what kind of applied it to basketball was my coach and my high school coach. His name was Coach Henderson, and the dude was crazy as hell, like obsessive type of 5 a.m. workouts, 2 a days, 3 a days. You know, we're on the track, we're in the weight room, and then we got 2 hour practice. Like, it's wild. So, and he kind of brought that obsessive type of mindset to for me personally. And dude is wild, right? I kind of see him as like the Bill Bowerman of grind, you know, like that's the mindset that Grind is trying to like portray in everybody who sees and comes across us. So, with the culture, with that mindset, it was simple, it was straightforward. It wasn't, there's nothing beautiful or special about it, but there's beauty in that struggle. You know what I'm saying? I think kind of trying to take all these things. I can't kind of came up with a grind house at the beginning, but I think after the first year or so, I cut off the house and just kept it as grind.
I mean, it's perfect, man, because the product is about reps, and I mean that's essentially what you're doing. So it's a great name, man. And also the branding is great too, man. I mean, you guys. I know one of the questions we had was kind of what are your next steps? As far as you mentioned, you guys are in the process. You have pre-order. You're starting to fabricate, ship out. What's next? Are you just focused on that stage right now, or you mentioned some other things too about possibly soccer? Or what's next down the line?
Yeah. I think we the whole team is focused on executing this goal 100%, 150%. But obviously, we have bigger plans in the grand scheme of things. So we are raising or gearing up to raise around a seed round. So we're raising $500,000 for our seed round. But really just using part of that money to accelerate the growth and take over basketball, right? And perfect that and be that company in that sport. And then, grow outside of that. We have some software applications that, we see value in. And, for instance, tracking analytics, being able to give all those stats to, an ESPN where they can compare and contrast, we have all this data, in the game, but, how does that compare to how they're, working out? Nobody's giving us that data. And now can you see if this kid is it mental? Are they killing it in practice and doing bad in the game? Whether it's mental or, are they just not putting in the work? Or are they just straight talented because they're not putting in no work with, and doing good in the game? So just really aggregating more data and rolling out our software apps to where, we can track, how many shots is made, how many are missed, and really being able to lock in on kind of algorithms that push kids toward different workouts. So we're going into personal training, going into even mixed reality in some cases. Those are some of the future goals within the software aspect of things. But, obviously just doing all that stuff and moving forward. That's kind of the short-term and long-term goals that while we're raising the capital.
Yeah, the hardest part is executing the first phase, man, which is a huge phase. But yeah, I mean, of course, talking to you, getting to know you a little bit more, looking into Grind, the app sounds like limitless, man. Like it really could. I mean, describe. I think you guys described it as you could compete against someone on the other side of the planet or in another in another state, another city. That's awesome. I mean, getting personally, I think getting kids out is what saves a lot of them in a lot of the areas where we grew up. Living in the driveway or in the backyard, that rather than inside.
Absolutely.
There was the question. One of those last questions was about Houston and like the ecosystem. Do you want to take the lead on that one?
Yeah, of course. I guess kind of backtracking. I want to touch on like the storytelling piece. So like you've been able to get like the professor, Coach Lowe, I think it was Patricia Davis, and like over the last couple of months, I've seen like put out like videos and content around like your story and their stories. Kind of how has that helped kind of drive like awareness in business, or has that helped?
Yeah, that's my forte, man, is telling stories. I love telling people's like the authentic stories about the backgrounds of like me, like y'all, like you know, Miss Patricia Davis, that her son's about to enter the NBA and he's 10 and he's from Fifth Ward. You know what I'm saying? So just that whole story, it gives me chills, man. Just being able to tell those stories, they're just beautiful. I really love them, man. I think the great thing about the execution phase of it, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, like those people have audiences, right? And we're finding out that, like, you know, I did my piece and I used my homeboy Doughman, his music on my video. He has 12,000 followers, right? On all channels, and it's like he's gonna push it out to everybody, and he did without me asking, because it was just an authentic partnership. And same thing with Miss Davis and KD. Kendrick Davis put it on his Twitter and his Instagram, because it's him. You know, we're telling his story through grind and how it represents us, but also how it ties into obviously telling their story. So I think the awareness is really cool, because it's an authentic partnership, you know, and we're telling their story and also telling people kind of what grind represents, and you know, it gets it out there to Coach Lowe's audience. He loves the video about him because it's about him, but it also represents grind in a way, because I think all these people represent us, right? So yeah, I think that's kind of how it's you know, been helping, and we got some more heat coming. So, you know, we're excited to drop, man.
That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. I love you know, hearing about what I call like the DNA of a company, you know, and that's basically your blood, sweat, and tears. And for those who don't know about Houston and the area where you grew up in, I mean, yeah, man, it's that alone is an awesome, you know, success story there. Just you know, as you grow your network and influence, you know, if you haven't already noticed, I'm sure you're influencing the next generation to believe, like, hey, you know, it doesn't have to completely, like you said, just completely be about the sport. It could be the business of the sport or the branding of the sport. Martellus Bennett is a friend of mine, and he talks a lot about this. I mean, he played football because he was, you know, huge, you know, 6'7", and, you know, almost 300 pounds, and just, you know, he's just amazing, you know, amazing athlete. But he's, you know, brilliant. You know, he has an amazing creative mind. He's always about, you know, business, and he always had a plan that, you know, he was going to use his platform and everything was going to meet, you know, at the top, man. So no, I definitely, you know, just hearing you speak and talk about, you know, your journey, and I think, and, you know, seeing a little bit more about the story, and honestly, man, the product is amazing. You know, it's I think you got a big future ahead of you, man. And we're excited to be, you know, in the same city and share your story a little bit. And, you know, hopefully, you know, obviously we're going to cross paths more and more, man. But we appreciate you spending time with us. What else are we missing, Nate?
I think I want to touch on that a little more, because just, you know, coming up, you know, in the last 5 going on 6 years building the company, you know, I would pitch at energy events. I would pitch at all these different events that Houston is, you know, quote unquote, energy, gas, oil, you know, all these things that Houston is known for. And I remember meeting Ash, and then meeting Nate, and finally coming across some guys that have like a thesis, and I wouldn't say a thesis, it's more of like a belief, you know. It's like a belief in the city, like, yo, why aren't we like killing in sports in Houston?
Right.
And as soon as I met those guys, I kind of felt, I was like, yeah, these are the guys that are gonna create something, you know, in the city, that, you know, along with the other entrepreneurs doing sports related things. Like, I think these are the guys that are gonna blow up the city in terms of sports tech, and really, you know, create a system that, you know, fosters foster those things. So, I really appreciate you guys for creating a platform like this and ecosystem around sports tech, because we need it, and I feel like we could kill it in it. So being around Houston and having you guys here is a blessing, man. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, man.
To kind of lead into that, you mentioned back like 3, 4, probably longer than that, years ago, there wasn't like a sports tech innovation ecosystem. It was oil and gas, it was the port, it was space, medicine.
Yeah.
Like kind of as you've been in it, kind of what opportunities do you kind of see for continued improvement in that area, kind of as you work on Grind, as we work on HTX, like other start to come in?
Yeah, I think there's no reason to not be able to be on the level of San Francisco or New York or Austin in terms of sports in Houston. We have the Astros, we have the Rockets, we have the Dynamo, we have the Texans, and I'm probably missing a couple more sports teams, but yeah, man, I think in terms of events, in terms of pitch events, networking events, resources, connections to brands, brands that you guys work in and within, and just creating partnerships and relationships within these things, man, could really turn a lot of things around. With us moving forward into the market, we get in touch with like a Houston Rockets or whatever the case is by one of you guys, or a Mark Cuban, or you want sports tech investors and stuff like that. Like, I think there's endless possibilities for us to be able to grow, stay in the city, and put Houston on the map for sports.
That's cool. Okay. And then you just had to touch on it before we geared up, but was there anything you wanted to share about the ambassadors program that you guys are starting?
Oh yeah, I mean, man, we after launching in March, we had a lot of coaches and trainers coming to us saying that yo, I got 1,000 kids in my program right now that will buy this machine. How could we partner? And we didn't have an answer. And we're barely rolling out and trying to maintain customer support, so we created an ambassador program, and within a week, we had like 50 coaches and trainers sign up organically, and what we're doing is giving them a commission based on the orders. So we're giving them ambassador code, giving people that purchase their link a discount, and they take a small commission, and so we're able to help out the community in terms of that, but also get the name out there, and kind of multiply some exponential word of mouth growth right there. So hopefully, we're rolling that out actually today. So I gotta hop on calls later today and get on that. So it's gonna be fun.
So that's all I have. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks again for making time to talk with us.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. I loved it. Always like speaking to you guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. I just echo what Nate said, man. We appreciate it. We're rooting for you, and I mean, we'll obviously spend more time together, man. But appreciate it. We'll have you back in a couple years.
Yeah, hopefully we got a lot of good progress from then.
Of course, man. I love that you believe in everything that Houston's about, man. I think these are the type of relationships and stories that are going to get us there, like you said, man. So cool, man.
Cool.
Appreciate it, Thomas.
Hey guys, thanks.
Catch you later.